Have you ever watched your own child raise their kids and thought, that is not how I would do it? Have you ever bitten your tongue so hard you could taste it? Or maybe you didn't bite your tongue. The words just came out, and suddenly dinner was ruined, and everyone drove home without saying a word. I have been there, more times than I care to admit. And what happened when I finally stopped correcting my son's parenting? Well, it changed my whole family, in a way I honestly did not see coming. Hi, I'm Grandpa Arthur, proud grandfather of 5. I've been a dad for over 40 years now, and a grandpa for close to 16. I want to tell you something that took me way too long to figure out. I wish somebody had just sat me down and said it plainly. 20 years ago would have saved me a lot of heartache, a lot of awkward holiday dinners, and a lot of those late-night talks with my wife where I'd say, why won't he just listen to me? So settle in, because this story, it might sound a lot like yours. Let me take you back to where it started. My son David became a father for the first time about 16 years ago. I remember standing in that hospital room holding my first grandchild, little Emma, and I thought, I am going to be the best grandpa this world has ever seen. I meant it too. I had experience, raised 3 kids of my own. I knew what worked. I knew what didn't. So when David started doing things differently, naturally, I spoke up. I thought I was helping. I really did. When he let Emma cry a few minutes before picking her up, I told him, you need to go get that baby right now. When he started feeding her some kind of mashed avocado instead of good old rice cereal, I said he was overcomplicating things. And when he decided not to spank, I said, a little discipline never hurt anyone. Every single time, David would get quiet. His jaw would tighten, and my daughter-in-law Sarah would find some reason to leave the room. I told myself they were just being sensitive. I told myself they'd thank me someday. Sound familiar? But here's what I didn't see back then. Every correction I offered, no matter how lovingly I meant it, landed like a punch. Every time I said, well, when I raised you, we did it this way. What David actually heard was, I don't trust you. I don't think you're good enough. And the worst part, I had no idea how much damage I was doing. Not until it nearly cost me everything. About 6 years ago, something happened that stopped me cold. We were having a family barbecue at our place. David and Sarah brought the kids over. Everything was fine, until my youngest grandchild, Lucas, who was about 3 at the time, threw a tantrum. He wanted ice cream before dinner. Now David calmly knelt down, looked Lucas right in the eye, started talking to him quietly. No yelling, no threats, just talking. And I, in all my wisdom, walked right over and said, David, just tell him no and be done with it. You're negotiating with a 3-year-old. David stood up, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, Dad, I need you to stop. I need you to stop telling me how to raise my kids. Every time we come here, you have something to say, and honestly, it makes me not want to come here at all. The whole yard went quiet. My wife looked at me. Sarah looked at the ground, and I felt my chest go tight, because I could see it in his face. He meant every word. My son, my boy, was telling me that my help was pushing him away, and right there I had a choice. I could get defensive. I could say, well, I'm your father. I have a right to speak my mind. Or I could listen, really listen. Maybe for the first time, that night, after everyone had gone, I sat on the back porch with my wife, and she said something I will never forget. She said, Arthur, he's not a boy anymore. He's a father, and he needs you to see him as one. She was right. I'd been so busy trying to be the expert, I forgot to just be the dad my grown son actually needed. He didn't need a coach on the sideline hollering plays. He needed his dad up in the stands, cheering him on, believing in him, even when he did things his own way. So I made a decision. I stopped correcting him. All of it. Just stopped. And I'll tell you, that was one of the hardest things I have ever done. Those first few visits were tough. I'd watch David handle something and feel the words climbing up my throat like steam from a kettle. Lucas would act up. David would handle it his way, and I'd grip the armrest of my chair and just say nothing. My wife would catch my eye from across the room and give me a little nod, like she was saying, "You're doing fine, keep going." So I did. I kept going, kept my mouth shut. And you know what happened? About 3 months later, David called me on a Tuesday night. Not a holiday, not a birthday, just a regular old Tuesday. He said, "Hey Dad, I've been dealing with something with Emma at school, and I wanted to get your advice." My advice. He was asking for it, not because I pushed it on him, but because I'd finally made room for him to want it. I about dropped the phone. We talked for an hour that night. He told me about Emma dealing with a bully at school. He told me how he was handling it, and then he asked what I thought, so I shared, gently, not as a correction, just as a conversation. Two fathers who loved the same little girl, talking it through together. That was one of the best conversations I've ever had. But here's the part that really got me, and this is what I want you to hear. It wasn't just my relationship with David that changed. Everything changed. My grandchildren started coming to me more. Emma would plop down next to me on the couch and tell me about her friends. Lucas would grab my hand and drag me outside to play. They felt the difference. Kids pick up on things, you know. When there's tension between their parents and grandparents, they feel it. They might not understand it, but they feel it. And when that tension went away, when David and I were finally on the same side, the kids relaxed. They opened up. They wanted to be around me. And that, I'll tell you, that is worth so much more than being right about rice cereal. Now, I want to pass along 3 things I learned from all this, in case you're going through something like it yourself. First one, being quiet is not the same as not caring. When I stopped correcting David, I didn't stop caring. If anything, I cared more. I just showed it differently. I showed it by trusting him, by letting him figure things out on his own, by being there when he came to me, instead of barging in when I thought he needed me. Second, your experience matters. It really does. But it only helps when someone asks for it. Think of it this way. If somebody walked into your kitchen and started rearranging your cabinets without asking, you'd be pretty upset, even if their way made more sense. It's the same thing. Our kids have to invite us in, and they will, but only if we stop forcing our way through the door. And the third one, this is the big one. Your relationship with your grandchildren runs right through your relationship with their parents. If things are strained between you and your son or daughter, it's going to affect how much time you get with those grandkids. So protect that relationship. It's the bridge to everything that matters most. Now look, I won't sit here and pretend it's always easy. Even now, there are moments where I see David do something, and I think, I might have done that a little differently. And that's fine. I'm allowed to think it. I just don't say it, not unless he asks. And you know what? Most of the time, his way works out just fine. Different doesn't mean wrong. It just means different. And sometimes, if I'm honest, his way turns out better than mine would have been. Think about that for a second. Our kids learning from the world, from new ideas, from their own gut feelings, and getting it right. That's not something we failed at. That's something we succeeded at. We raised them to think for themselves. We ought to be proud when they actually do it. Last week, David brought all 5 grandkids over for Sunday dinner. Lucas, who's 9 now, came running up and said, "Grandpa, I saved you a seat." Emma, who's 16 and too cool for just about everything, sat across from me and asked me to tell the story about the time I got lost fishing out at Lake Walton. Again. And David, my son, looked at me from across the table and smiled. Not that tight, careful smile from years ago, a real one, a warm one. In that smile I saw everything. A father who felt respected, a son who felt trusted, and a man who was glad his dad finally got it. So if you're sitting there right now, watching your son or daughter parent in a way that makes you want to jump in. I'd like you to try something. Just for 1 month. Hold back. Watch. Trust them. See what happens. I think you might be surprised. I think your phone might ring on some quiet Tuesday evening, and that call will be worth every single word you didn't say. If this story meant something to you, or if it reminded you of your own family, I'd really like to hear about it. Leave me a comment. Tell me, have you been through something like this? What happened when you stepped back? And if you know another grandparent who could use this today, go ahead and share it with them. It might make a difference in their family the way it did in mine. Hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you'll know when the next one comes out. I've got another story I think you're really going to want to hear. Thanks for spending this time with me. And remember, being a grandparent isn't about being perfect. It's about being there. I'll see you in the next one. Take care now.